Oh, all right. I am live. Hello, 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 hello. Let's make sure we're looking good. All right. I'm live, guys. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. Welcome to the live. So, tonight I'm going to talk about, tonight I want to talk about startup costs for your beauty supply store. Um, I had a call today. I had a consult today, and most of the time with people who have open stores in the past or people who are wanting to open stores, we really don't know how much money we need to actually open like a successful beauty supply store, like a profitable, successful beauty supply store. And when you take a look at most of the Black owned beauty supply stores, a lot of the stores, when you're first getting started, a lot of them are under inventoried and just really started up on a shoestring budget. And your revenue and your profits is going to reflect how much you spent on your startup costs. So it's really, really important that I break down for you guys what realistic startup costs look like for a beauty supply store. So that when you guys go into creating your business plan and your financial projections, you're creating these numbers based on realistic data. Now, I tell people all the time, like, I opened on a very limited budget. I would not ever suggest anybody do that. I just don't, y'all. I just don't. Can you open with, you know, $10,000, $20,000? Yes, but your store is going to reflect the fact that you opened with a shoestring budget. And with all of the hard work that goes into launching a brick and mortar business, it makes no sense. You might as well just go online. It makes no sense to put all that effort, all that time, and then you are only making a couple of $1,000s a month in your business. Okay. You want to be making 5-figure months, 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 per month in your beauty supply store, because those numbers are realistic when you have a realistic budget. But if you're starting with a small budget, you're going to end up making small money in your business, guys. Okay, so again, we're going to talk about, and I don't want to overwhelm you guys with numbers and all of that stuff, right? I'm just going to give you some high level costs that I want you guys to think about, like the ones that really, really matter, that if you handle these well, then everything else is okay. Okay. So the first thing that you want to think about, or the first cost you want to think about, is your inventory. So when I'm on consultations with you guys, or I'm on consultations rather with people who may have done some type of brick and mortar business in the past, or maybe they had a beauty supply store in the past, and they didn't open it the correct way. I say there's no such thing, right? You just opened it the way that you knew how, with the information that you had, right? It's the same thing with parenting. Like, our parents did the best job with the skill set that they had. So there was no wrong way, there's no failures. I don't believe that, right? We just open it with more information, right? So the first thing I always ask someone who maybe has an eye on a space or has a potential space in mind is, how big is the space? Because that's going to tell me how much you're going to need in inventory, right? Inventory is going to be one of your biggest pieces, right? Because inventory is how we make money, and the type of inventory is going to determine the type of profit margins in your store, right? So your product mix is very important. That's a whole nother training. But inventory is your largest asset on your balance sheet. I want y'all to drop that in the chat so I know y'all paying attention. Okay. Inventory is the largest asset on your balance sheet. So it's number one, guys. You want to make sure you have enough inventory in your store, and that's based on the square footage, the usable, right, square footage or the retail square footage of your store, right? So based on how big your store is and how I do formulas, I can tell you approximately how much you're just going to need by itself in inventory. So when someone calls me and says, "Oh, I got everything I need for my store. I got all the money," because I'm like, "You have the funding?" That's my first question. Do you have the funding for your store? And they're like, "Yeah, I got all the funding I need." And I'm like, "How much funding do you have for your store?" And then they say something like 20,000. And I'm like, "Okay, well, how big is the store?" Then they say something like 2,000 square feet of space or whatever. I'm like, that 20,000 wouldn't even cover inventory for your store, let alone that being your entire budget. 20,000 would not even cover enough inventory for that specific space, let alone that being your entire budget that you have for the entire business. Okay. So when you're talking about stocking your shelves, and you're talking about you need at least 100 different brands in your beauty supply store, guys, without the inventory, you're not going to have a business. You're not going to be able to make the money without inventory. Obviously, I always teach you guys that you have several streams of revenue that you're going to be operating within your beauty supply four walls, right? So we don't only make money off of retail, but we primarily make money off of retail, right? That's our bread and butter. Okay. So this is going to be minimum a third of your budget. Okay. We're talking about minimum 30,000 for inventory if we're talking about a space that's maybe 1,500 square feet of space. So I'm talking about some of the smallest spaces, right? That's a third of your entire budget. Okay, that's number one, inventory. Another third of your budget is going to be your build out costs. This is the cost to create your space and beautify your space. Okay. Most of the time, I tell people you want to find a white box space so you don't have to do as much work, right? So when I say white box or second generation, right, those are spaces where like the work is pretty much done. You may have to put some paint, you may have to do some with the flooring, have your accent pieces, get your shelving, get your register and all that other stuff, right? But you don't want to have to pour a lot of money into a space that you don't own. So I never suggest you guys get into these raw spaces, these new construction, right? It's like nothing is up, the walls ain't up, the floor ain't done. Absolutely not, because it will kill your budget, guys. Unless you are getting tenant improvements and you have a bomb realtor like we do. We have a bomb realtor that will get you some tenant improvements, get that paid for. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, no problem. Unless you have that, you want to find a white box space. You want to find a second generation space so that you can go ahead and spend minimum money. Now I say minimum, I'm talking about 20,000 on beautifying the space, because again, when our lease is over, we don't take the paint and all of that stuff with us. We don't take the flooring with us. We don't take that stuff with us. So what you want to be strategic about when it comes to the build out is you want first of all make sure the space is beautiful. So that's number one, right? But you want to make sure that it's beautiful, but it's on a budget. So for sure, lighting is one of the issues in the beauty spot stores that I go in today that just makes a place look dull. If you want to make your place look high end, definitely lighting is one of the places you do want to spend your coins. Okay. Fresh paint. Okay. We have all been into the average beauty supply store. It's dusty, it's dirty. It's not, you don't feel comfortable in it. It's like you want to go in and come back out. You want people to come into your beauty supply store and feel like they want to stay around for a while. Okay, so you definitely want to invest in the lighting, you want to invest in some fresh paint. You want it to feel like Black Girl Luxury, because this is what we're building. We're building spaces that exude Black Girl Luxury, because of women of color, we haven't had these types of high-end spaces when it came to us building our beauty supply stores. And so we are creating this for the first time. So we want to get it right, because we don't want our people to go back to the Asian owned and Arab owned stores. Now, we'll tell you they are getting better with the stores. They are getting better with the stores. And so we definitely want to make sure that when we're building out our spaces that we have experience. And when I say experience, I mean the experience for our customers, that we are focused on what kind of experience do I want to create for my customers when they're walking into the store. So when you're building out your store, you want to think about what kind of experience can they have when they are doing their wig purchases, right? So we want to build out a wig area where there's a station and they could sit down and there's a mirror and there's, different things added to make that experience bar none. Same thing with the rest of the store. The layout and this build out phase is a very important part of your branding. When people walk in, what do they see immediately? What do they hear? What do they smell? Right? This is all a part of this phase. And so you want to make sure that you are paying attention and investing in the things that make sense when we're talking about the build out. Okay. Third, so that's build out, right? So that's going to be a third of your budget. Now the last piece, the last chunk, I don't really say the most important, but very important. All of these are really, really important. This one is top. Okay. This is what I was missing. So that's why I'll say this one is top. You will need working capital for minimum 6 months. If it's a brand new store and you're a brand new business owner, I'm going to say that you need 12. You need double that. You need 12 months of working capital. What is working capital? This is literally a budget, like savings that you have set aside for your overhead expenses. What are overhead expenses? This is going to be the expenses that you're going to be paying every single month in your beauty supply store as a retail brick and mortar business. This is your rent. This is your utilities. This is your payroll. This is your cleaning expenses. This is your accountant. This is all the things that you are going to be paying, without a doubt, all the bills of your beauty supply retail business, right? This is what our overhead costs are on a monthly basis. These are fixed costs, which means they do not change. I have to pay the same amount of rent every single day for X amount of years, right? My utilities are pretty much the same, right? My payroll can fluctuate, but you are paying some type of payroll every single month because you have employees, right? So the reason why I say it's important to have working capital, which again is just savings, is because your first 6 months of business, people are learning about your store. Okay. Everyone is not going to automatically know that the store is open in your community. Okay. I'll tell you one quick story, guys. My business was open for, I think, 5 years when someone came into my store. I mean, and this happened like weekly. And it was like, I didn't know there was a beauty supply store in this neighborhood. I was like 5 years in business. It was like, I've been living in this neighborhood for 30 years and I didn't know this store was here. And I was like, that's insane. I pass out flyers every single month. I run ads. I'm going live. I'm doing all of the community events. And you ain't know my store was here? I'm the most poppin'est beauty supply store in all of New York City. And you ain't know my store was here? They didn't know. Okay. And so the first 6 months of business, guys, you are head down trying to get as many customers to come to your beauty supply store. Okay. So you are spending your money on marketing. You're spending your money on inventory, right? You're reinvesting your money back into your store, right? However, for the first 6 months, again, you are just trying to cover all of the bills. And what happens with most people that don't have this budget in place is that you run out of money. And now, because the store is still getting new people in and everyone's just knowing that your store is there, you don't have enough to cover your basic bills. And so now you start paying with your personal money and putting things on your personal credit card. You start asking your family members to work in the store instead of hiring people, right? So now you have to fire, the 2-3 sales girls that you had. Now you got your mom working in the store. You got your dad working in the store. And I say all that to say is because I have my mom and dad working there, right? So I know what it is. because you're spending your money on new inventory because now you're open. And catch this, you're open now. Now people are coming in and they're telling you all the things and all the brands that they love, that they want to see in their neighborhood beauty supply store that you currently don't have. And now you're spending all the extra money on the new inventory. You playing catch up for the first 2-3 years on new inventory because now the community is now telling you what they want. Up until then, obviously, you was just relying on your research to get all the inventory in your store. But now that your store is open and people have the ability to come in, right? And I tell my clients this all the time. That first 6 months, right? You're just going to have this long list, guys. You're going to have this long book of just requests after request after request, right? And this is why in my programs, I always teach a 2 launch strategy. Because when you have your soft launch event, right, that's when you quietly open. And between your soft launch event and that grand opening event, guys, you are now going to be taking those requests and you are going to be building your list so that right before you have your big grand opening with all the bells and whistles, you deploy an additional budget for inventory. I teach all this stuff in my program. I can't teach it all on here, but you have 2 different budgets and you have 2 different events. So that when that grand opening hits, and again, that's like 3 to 6 months after the soft launch, now you're able to buy all that inventory, not even touching your working capital, right? We're not touching the working capital, but you're able to buy all of that inventory that the customers are asking you for. Not even touching the working capital. Now, when you have your grand opening, that working capital is there to be able to continue to pay for your employees, to continue to basically pay your normal bills, right? Your marketing, right? That's another thing that goes out the window when we don't have money. We stop paying for the ads. We stop printing out the flyers. We stop marketing, which is crazy because marketing is how you get the people in. Why would you stop marketing? But people see it as extra and they stop marketing. They stop running the ads. They stop printing out the flyers. They stop paying the people to hand out the flyers, right? That is why it's so, so important, guys, for you to have that working capital, because I've been there and done that. And that's why I can tell y'all not to make the same mistakes I made, because this is what's going to separate the businesses that fail in the first year versus the ones that thrive, right? Is this working capital budget. Drop that in the chat. Drop that in the chat. Your working capital budget. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave y'all here. But these are the top 3 costs that you need to incorporate in your budget to make sure that you are literally ahead of 90% of store owners who open. Okay. All the other things, those are small details. These are the big pieces that I want you guys to familiarize yourself with. And I want you guys to incorporate that into your business plans. Okay. So most people freeze up when they hear these numbers and they see these numbers. Okay. But I want you guys to understand that these are the investments in your future freedom, right? These are investments in creating that generational wealth and creating that legacy, right? So don't get choked up on these investments, guys. Don't get choked up on the budget, because the return on investment is what we need to be focused on, right? So allowing you to understand what is a realistic budget is going to enhance your knowledge when you guys get started, because you won't get choked up when the vendors tell you it's going to be $5,000 to open just one account, right? You already going to understand that I got 30,000, 40,000 for my inventory budget. Okay. So you're not going to flinch when they say it's going to cost $5,000 just to open this account with us. Okay. So I am going to be breaking all of this down into detail. I am having a 5-day challenge where I'm going to be training you guys every single day for 5 days. So if you are wanting to open and get started with your beauty supply journey in 2026, you want to be at my next 5-day beauty supply startup challenge, because this is where I give you guys day by day, step by step instruction over 5 whole days so that you understand what the blueprint is. You leave with a real plan, not just fluff information. Okay. So guys, I'm going to drop the link in the chat for my 5-day challenge. If you guys are wanting to deep dive into this information, you want to be at our 5-day challenge, which is my step-by-step blueprint on how to fund, stock, and launch your beauty supply store the right way. Okay. Day 1, we are going over foundational elements, how to set up your store the right way, understanding retail language. Day 2, we start to get into your branding, right? Your brand, creating your brand identity, creating branding strategies, right? So that your store can be set apart from the competition, because the market is saturated, but it's not saturated with our type of stores. Okay. Day 3, we get into understanding the different business revenue models in the beauty supply industry, because it's not one size fits all. And so you have to understand which business model is going to work for you and your community. Okay. Day 4, we get into all of the legalities of opening a beauty supply store. What licenses, permits do I need? What systems do I need to set up my store the right way? So we go over the legalities. We go over all of the systems and tools you will need to operate your beauty supply store like a billion-dollar corporation, not like a mom and pop everyday beauty supply store. And day 5 is all about getting to the funding. So I'm going to teach you guys the strategies that we taught our clients for them to secure $1.5 million in funding for their beauty supply stores. So I'm going to be going over funding, how to get funding, different funding strategies, how to build your business plan and financial projections, all on day 5. Okay. So this is going to be your opportunity, guys, to get literally 5 days worth of training and coaching for me for pennies on the dollar. General admission is only $47. And if you want to upgrade to the VIP experience, which is what I suggest, you get an additional hour of one-on-one coaching with me to work on your beauty supply store assets, sitting down with you guys via the Zoom in a private Zoom room so that you can get that one-on-one coaching. So that's an additional hour of coaching with the VIP. So I always suggest, guys, if you're really serious about your business, you always want to invest at the highest level. And that's VIP. And that is literally just $97 for the VIP room. Okay. So guys, the link is there. I'm going to drop it one more time. Guys, click on the link if you want to get your beauty supply store open in 2026. The challenge is happening March 23rd to March 27th. We're going to have general at 8. Then we're going to have VIP at 9 Eastern time. Okay. So guys, if you have any questions, you can hit me up on Instagram at The Retail Genius. I am signing off. I hope you guys have a good night. Bye. Hope you guys enjoyed the live too. If you did, go ahead and drop me some hearts. Drop me a like on the video. Have a good night, guys.